I've got to be honest with you lads, I am sick to fucking death of this club. Just when you thought the Mason Greenwood drama was over, up crops a war of words between Erik, Hag and Jadon Sancho. Now, it's one thing being shite on the pitch, which United very much have been for the best part of a decade, but a whole nother to somehow always find a way to make headlines for all the wrong reasons. In case you missed it, here's what went down. Following United's 3-1 defeat to Arsenal, Erik Hag informed reporters during his press conference that Jadon Sancho was left out of the travelling squad to London due to poor performances in training. Shortly after, Sancho responded with the following on Twitter, where he essentially stated that Ten Hag's claims were untrue, he's being made a scapegoat, and that there's other reasons he's been dropped which he's currently unable to disclose. Needless to say, as outsiders looking in, we can't possibly know for sure what's happened behind the scenes, but here's my take on it. I reckon Sancho doesn't have a leg to stand on, and the only reason he's bit back via social media is because he's surrounded by yes men that tell him how great he is 24/7, which in turn has left him detached from reality and living in a bubble in which he can do no wrong. Had Sancho been performing to even a half decent level prior to Ten Hag's arrival, you could make a case for him being mismanaged by the current coaching staff, but the fact of the matter is, he's been piss poor since the day he stepped foot in Manchester, and it's about bloody time he shoulders some responsibility for it. It's utterly embarrassing seeing kids from the academy like Garnacho and Pellistri come off the bench and outshine a bloke who costs 73 million quid week in, week out. It's not just in terms of end product either. Unlike the aforementioned youngsters, Sancho looks like he can't be arsed half the time, and honestly speaking, that's far more damning than his failings in front of goal. You can be forgiven for misfiring when you're low on confidence, but not doing the bare basics like putting a shift in is simply unacceptable. It's not like Ten Hag to publicly pull up a player either. You could tell he was fed up with the likes of Harry Maguire and David De Gea throughout much of the previous campaign, but when asked for his take on them by journalists, always remained positive. In this particular instance, he's probably thought to himself that he's tried every man management trick in the book with Jadon Sancho, including giving him time off between October and February last season to get his head right, by the way, and was left with no option but to try and motivate him by going down the Mourinho road. Unfortunately, this has backfired, and that boils down to Sancho's fragile mentality. Compare and contrast that with how Rashford and Garnacho dealt with being challenged by the manager. The former was dropped by Ten Hag for oversleeping and missing a team meeting, only to come off the bench and score the winner against Wolves away. Similarly, the latter was banished to the under-23s for going AWOL in preseason, and fought his way back into first-team contention by doing his talking on the pitch. Even Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who looked a dead cert to be sold a few months ago, worked his bollocks off to get back into Ten Hag's good books and is, as things stand, a fixture in the starting 11. It's quite simple as far as I'm concerned. You either buckle up, deal with the pressure that comes with representing Man United, and give your all from first minute to last when selected like these 3 other fellas have, or fuck off to a more comfortable environment where you won't constantly be under the microscope. The fact that Sancho had the cheek to say he's being scapegoated is ludicrous. If anything, he's gotten away with murder during his 2.5 years at Old Trafford, and the only one who can truthfully make that claim is Harry Maguire, who, for as terrible as he's been in recent times, is far from the root cause of subpar results like some on the internet may suggest. Sancho also, rather shamelessly, claimed he'll continue to fight for the badge no matter what. As the old saying goes, actions speak louder than words, and you can't try and bullshit fans who watch you stink up the place every other game with a throwaway statement like that. Last but not least, Sancho's thinly veined dig at Antony, which is who I believe he was targeting when he brought up so-called matters he can't publicly get into. Like him or loathe him, if there's one thing that Ten Hag has been in his tenure so far, it's fair. Those who perform play, those who don't are dropped. While he does have a relationship with both Licha and Antony from his time at Ajax, I've seen him sub off Martinez at halftime on at least 3 separate occasions for not pulling his weight, and both Sancho and Antony have played a very similar amount of minutes, despite the Englishman missing close to 3 months of football, so any suggestions of not being given a fair crack at the whip are wide off the mark. Overall, there's only 2 ways this can go. Either Sancho come out and apologize, work his tits off, and show the world why United paid such big money for him in the first place, or keep being a little bitch and move to Saudi Arabia now or another club on the continent in January with his tail between his legs once the market reopens. That's my take on this particular subject matter. Let's hear yours down below. Peace.